Well, first of all, with regard to your statistics, I really admire the Joshua Project and called them and talked to them at times. But you have to understand that those statistics, I don't know how, and not the fault of the Joshua Project at all. I really admire them. But the theology on the mission field and among those who do statistics is so poor that oftentimes groups are considered reached people groups when they're not, engaged people groups when they're not. And so those statistics don't tell half the story of how bad it actually is. Now, an unreached people group, in the classical definition, is a group of people where there is no autonomous, self-multiplying biblical church. A people that's not been engaged at all is someone where they would have no opportunity at all to hear the gospel. The gospel's not been taken to their doorstep at all. But again, listen, missions is about the communication of biblical truth. So when you take biblical truth out of missions and then you start drawing up statistics, you have no idea really what everyone is saying. And that's one of the great problems in missions today. Let me give you an example. I was coming home from a trip, I think I was in Eastern Europe or something, and by God's unusual providence, I sat down beside a mission statistical something or other, some kind of guy who knew everything about missions and had a really big computer. And he started mentioning to me all these people groups as reached. And so finally I stopped him and I said, I have a question, because I knew they weren't reached. I said, how do you define a reached people group? Because when I graduated from Southwestern Seminary in the 80s, a reached people group was someone who had an autonomous, self-multiplying biblical church. His definition of a reached people group was a group of people that lived within walking distance of where the Jesus film had been shown. So see, one of our great problems is that we can talk about numbers, we can talk about all these different things, but we're all using different terminology. And until we define our terminology biblically, a lot of this just isn't going to mean anything.